Welcome to another exciting episode of Many Hats of Business, the podcast. I'm your host, Tanya Gordon, and I'm thrilled to have you with us today. On this podcast, we explore the realities of business and the many hats we have to wear. I'll be speaking to some fantastic business owners about their journey to where they are today, in the hope that they inspire you to go through the tough times so that you get to relish the rewards having your own business can bring. Before we jump in, a quick reminder to subscribe, rate and leave a review if you enjoy what you hear. Your support means the world to us and helps Many Hats of Business, the podcast, reach even more curious minds like yours. Alright, let's get started. Get ready to be entertained, informed and inspired. This is Many Hats of Business, the podcast. Welcome back to today's episode of Many Hats of Business, the podcast. Today, I want to talk to you about passive income. In the online business space, there's a lot of talk about making passive income. But I'm here to tell you that there's very little in life that is passive income without hard work at the start. In this business space, we hear a lot about making courses or digital products that can earn you a recurring income with no effort or very little. The problem is that the initial outlay of work is often underestimated. And if you don't have a large audience, that can take time to build as well to sell these products. You can go down the ad space, and you may have seen our episode with Facebook ads expert Chris London, and if you haven't, you should definitely check that out if you're considering the advertising route. He also does Google ads, so it's definitely worth a look. But we talk about how you really need to test the viability of any of your products in the organic space before you start wasting your money on ad spend. And the reason for that is that's exactly what you'll be doing if you're not careful, just wasting money. And with anything, you have to invest a little in the ads. So for example, if you did £5 a day and they need a little bit of time to see how it's working, even if you were only doing £5 a day, that's £25 in the first week if you're not doing weekends and you want to leave it running for a few weeks. So before you know it, even if you're just playing at it yourself, you've wasted £100 that you haven't checked your offer first. And £100 might not sound a lot in business, but just be aware of it, because people are like, you do it in one space, but if you're doing it in lots of other things, before you know it, you've wasted £500 or £1,000 and it's not even doing anything for you. Then you have online courses. So that's a large outlay to get that going. And the same thing, you still need an audience to sell to. You've still got to get your messaging right, which takes time. You've got to get all of your tech sorted behind the scenes to be able to sell it. There are more simple ways of doing things. And if you're particularly only going to look at selling one product, I would say don't overcomplicate it at the start, because you can always add to things. But let's not forget that there's a lot of competition in this online space at the minute. So you've really got to stand out from the competition. And I feel like a lot of people berate themselves for their lack of passivity in their passive income idea because they've been told it would be easy. And I think a lot of the people that were saying it would be easy have actually started to acknowledge that it isn't as easy as they perhaps first thought, albeit not necessarily publicly, because that makes it harder for them to sell their thing. Obviously, in the online space, there's an element of perception in business. So people have to keep up a perceived level of success and things because it helps them to sell. So yeah, it's strange. It's a bit like that Insta life thing, isn't it? Now let's talk about other things that people consider passive. Other than the passive income digitalized product, there's a lot of things you can do, ebooks as well, which is still digital. You could write a book, a real book with actual pages. I love a real book with actual pages, and earn income off that. But obviously, if you're writing a book, you certainly can't say that there's no effort at the start, because you've got to write it. So, that certainly doesn't fit into the passive at the start category, does it? Albeit you could earn income off that for years. And with a book, obviously, you've got that, you're building up that know, like, and trust factor, you're building up your authority. It has other benefits, but I think sometimes, if people don't think of the whole bigger picture and they're just thinking of the income from it doesn't necessarily outweigh the effort, or it certainly takes a long time to start. And you need to be putting it out there for people regularly as well to see that, so that they buy. Let me share a quick story about a friend of mine who thought she'd hit the jackpot with passive income. She created an online course thinking it'd be set and forget it. 6 months in, she's still working on marketing, updating the content and answering student questions. It was passive, all right, passively eating up all of her free time. So it's just something you need to consider. The other things I like to talk about with passive income, because people talk about it a lot, is property investment. There is not a lot of passive income about property investment unless you have everybody doing your stuff for you, which obviously has an initial cost up front as well. Renting houses on a longer term basis, I'm thinking of there, where you do the traditional rent it and people pay you for a monthly income and you tie them in for 6 months or a year, for example, on an ongoing basis. And some tenants will stay for years. I had a couple of rental properties and I got really lucky. I never paid a mortgage payment without a rental income for that mortgage payment, because they were in before my first one and my first mortgage payment, and they were out. They paid rent up until they were going, so it worked really well when I was selling after divorce. So, but I know I got lucky, and even in COVID, I didn't have any voids, and people obviously did. So it's just worth considering. So yeah, renting houses on a longer term basis, obviously you've got the problem with voids. You've got potential problems with repairs and things. And of course, inevitably, you never know when that problem's going to be. So it's always, you're on holiday or just about to go on holiday and someone phones to say that the boiler's broken and things like that. So the reactive nature can be hard, the unexpectedness of it. Obviously, you can pay more out and use a management company, but as you can see, that starts to become less passive straight away. And you've got to buy the house in the first place. And realistically, that's not stress-free anymore, because buying houses tends to take forever these days with solicitors and searches. So it's not wholly passive. They say, don't they, that the 5 most stressful things in life: divorce, buying houses, selling houses. So, buying houses as part of your passive income stream isn't that passive or stress-free. I haven't bought in. I think we bought this nearly 3 years ago now, this house. So I haven't had the joy recently, thank God. Property investments heavily taxed as well. So gone are the days of putting in 10% deposit for a regular rental and growing it by X% a year with the rental income on top. You do need to be prepared for the voids and the repair and improvement costs. And it certainly feels like everything is on the side of the renter now and not the landlord. So do your homework and make sure you've got a good buffer if you're going down that route. And it is why many are going down the HMO route, the house of multiple occupancy for student lets and things like that, or the Airbnb and holiday let market. And I know a couple of different people who have had a nightmare down both of those routes as well. So again, make sure you're prepared, because it isn't the easy ride that people would have you think. Obviously, in this online space, we've got people showing people how to make money in those routes as well. Even with passivity such as investments, I invest in VCTs, venture capitalist trusts, from time to time. You've still got to earn the money to be able to invest in those. So obviously that initial earning wasn't very passive, was it? But in my opinion, it is about as passive as you get. We get an email from a financial advisor saying, this is what's on offer. I think even we get emails from the ones we've already got investments with, where they'll say there's a new share offer coming. And then we have a conversation about whether we want to go ahead, and we do it and we transfer the money. So that is actually passive, because we don't do anything to get it, and then you get dividends come through every so often, and it's tax efficient in the first place. So that's also good. But that isn't what people are talking about when they talk about passive income in this online space most of the time, which is a shame. And interestingly, one of those things that isn't talked about enough, in my opinion, when you're going into business is the risk. A lot of people do have a low attitude to risk with investments. And they don't feel that these large companies on the stock exchange are safe investments. And I find it curious that these same people trust that their business journey will be profitable when the knowledge isn't actually there in some areas quite often. And they don't have shareholders to answer to and highly experienced people in the many departments that you need for running your own business. Plus a shed load of money that is in the company already and from shareholders to invest in the business when required. Realistically, it's called many hats of business for a reason. We do have a lot of hats to wear when we're in small business because we haven't got the different people in those departments. And many of those departments are still required, but you just fill the spot in every single one of those places in those departments. Hence why it can be quite stressful. I've been in business many years and historically would have thought the same. Now, I understand that selling your business for large amounts of money isn't the only route to financial freedom, and I'm using tax efficient wrappers to do that alongside building my business, such as building a good pension pot. But as I say, I didn't realise at the start either. I was just lucky that because I was very young when I started my business, I've not had to play catch up so much with investing into my pension. Anyway, back to the passive income that we hear and think about in this business industry. Once you build up your passive income side of your business, it can give you a fantastic return. But I think the term passive income is part of the problem because people assume it means there's no work involved, similar to the VCT thing. And obviously there's a massive difference between the two. I think we probably need to rebrand the term passive income to something like delayed gratification income or front-loaded work income. But let's face it, there's nothing passive about the blood, sweat and tears that you put in at the beginning. But it doesn't quite have the same ring to it. So I don't think it's going to take off because the appeal, it won't sell so well. But truth has historically been thin on the ground in sales, if you remember those double glazing salesmen or used car salesmen. So whilst, we've got a lot more morals when it comes to selling now, it's always been why let the truth get in the way of a perfectly good story when it comes to selling. So we just need to be aware of that. I personally believe that it's important to spread your risk in business by not having all of your eggs in one basket. And of course, this makes sense with the passive income of having more strings to your bow, but it doesn't mean there's no work involved with it. Obviously, I talk about not having all your eggs in the social media basket a lot and spreading it by using your website. And that's one of those reasons because you can get orders coming in while you sleep. So we like that. And that's kind of essentially what we're trying to do with passive income anyway. As you can see, it's really important because so much work is involved up front with any of these passive income schemes that you might want to implement in your business. It's really important that you do your due diligence and look at what you really want to create and do the research to make sure people actually want to buy it, because you don't want to just build it and hope that they'll come and that you can sell it, because that's going to be quite demoralising if it doesn't work once you've put in all of this effort. Equally, it's important to consider that you might not get 1 million sales overnight at the start and it might take a while to build up. So if you're really passionate about it, you need to keep putting it out there and keep going, because I'm a big one for building sustainability in our businesses, and there's no such thing as an overnight success anyway. So even these people that are telling you that it can be done easily, they've been working for years at it in most cases. So it isn't some overnight success. Yes, you do get an element sometimes of where people have been in the right place at the right time, which does help. But in the most part, there's a hell of a lot of work going on behind the scenes to get this passive income stream of that business up and running. And look, I'm not trying to rain on anyone's passive income parade here. It can be a fantastic addition to your business model, but it's a bit like planting a tree. You've got to nurture it and water it and wait for it to grow before you can enjoy the shade. So you do need to pack your patience along with your entrepreneurial spirit. And if I can do it, anyone can, because patience is not one of my natural gifts. So if you are thinking you want more passive income in your life, I would consider, if you want a bit of passive income in your business and your life separately so that you can build some assets outside of your business, I would also consider if you're getting all your eggs in one basket, in the sense of niching, and whether you can apply what you're writing and creating to more areas and industries. Because if you get a problem in one area of the industry, you want to be able to sell it to others. If you think back to COVID, certain trades couldn't trade altogether. So if you'd been massively helping hospitality or consulting to the hairdresser industry, for example, it was very difficult for you to make money at that time and you had to pivot because of it. So if your product can be used across multiple areas, that's very helpful. It might be that you need a different website or Facebook pages to attract a different audience. But if your main product is similar and only takes a bit of tweaking, it has a potential to do that for you. So it might be worth, instead of waiting for a potential problem and causing a pivot, it might be worth considering that at the start, because it gives you more scope to build that passivity quicker. And if you're dead set on obviously creating passive income stream, here's my advice. Start small. Don't quit your day job and pour all of your savings into a grand passion project of passive income. Test the waters first with a mini ebook or a small digital product first and see how it goes and learn from it and then scale up. Remember, Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither is a sustainable passive income stream. At the end of the day, whether it's passive or not, any income stream that diversifies your business and brings in money while you sleep is worth considering. Just remember to keep it real and do your homework and be prepared for the work, because in business and in life, there's no such thing as a free lunch. But there are some pretty tasty ones if you're willing to cook them up yourself. Or you can pay for someone to do it for you and save time, of course, but that takes money. And you don't always get the same gratification you get from a nicely cooked lunch that you've made yourself. The next episode is with the amazing Graham Short, who's the world's best micro engraver, and you absolutely don't want to miss it. He shares some amazing stories from his 60 years of business experience. Yes, you heard that right. 6 decades he's been doing this. And celeb stories too. And I can't tell you how much I enjoyed talking to him. I've known about him for years, when he became famous for putting the Lord's Prayer onto a pinhead. The pinhead, I think, was 2 millimeters large, which isn't large at all. It's very, very, very small. So it's unbelievable. And in the next episode of Tanya Talks, we'll be talking about how we can stop spending time on the bits of business we don't like. Not just in a let's ignore it and hope it goes away way, because people do that, I notice, and it's a very bad idea, particularly when they do it with finances. And it seems to be a popular one to do it with. So see you next time, and don't forget to follow so you get notified when the next episode lands.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Many Hats of Business, the podcast. Your support means a lot to me. If you enjoyed the show, please share it with your business friends, as they may find it useful too. If you hit the follow button, you'll be first to know when a new episode lands. See you next time.